At the start of this whole kind of filmmaking thing, I was always really frustrated when it came down to the whole editing process of it. I didn't really know where to begin or where to go after watching numerous videos on hours on end. I think I finally got something that's very usable, especially now shooting with the Canon EOS R5. And just kind of making this whole thing a big time saver compared to before. So let me tell you about that today. Before I begin this whole thing, let me first start off by explaining kind of the recording quality that I shoot on the Canon EOS R5, and that is 4K HQ with C-Log, of which the whole thing I downsample to 1080p. Now, why do I downsample to 1080p? Well, there's two kind of main reasons for that. One, I save on storage space. It's a lot of time to even export in 4K because that's such a big file size. And then two, not too many people really watch on 4K screens or 4K monitors or even 4K phones, which a lot of people watch YouTube on. So it saves me a lot of time, it saves me space, and it just makes this whole editing workflow a lot faster. So that's, the start of this whole thing. So as soon as I get all the footage done and ready on the Canon EOS R5, I plug it in to my laptop using a USB-C cable in order to transfer all the footage on there. You could throw in, the SD card into your computer, or you could have like a CFast, memory card reader. But for me, just plugging in the cable just makes it so much easier. I don't have to carry as many things around, less things are getting lost. So this speeds up my workflow, and it also gives me a chance to charge the Canon EOS R5 after I'm editing and I'm just letting it sit there with the cable plugged. With that in mind, I transfer all of the footage, and most of them tend to be really big files, onto my computer in specified folders that I label. And with that, I just let it run for a little bit because they're big files and it's going to take some time. So I go out and do some errands, or I watch some TV in that meantime. So after it's all done loading onto the computer, the next thing I want to do is to make that footage easy to play back on my editing software of choice. And for me personally, that editing software of choice is DaVinci Resolve. It's a great free software and definitely recommend it if you don't have one already. I'll include a link down below for that. So in there, I have the footage ready. I throw it into, some sort of viewing window on there. I highlight them all, and then I generate the media, which essentially renders it perfect for playback, so that there's none of that, kind of jittery scrubbing, kind of nonsense going on, which just makes that whole editing workflow a headache. This takes away all of that. You could have, a relatively sucky computer, and this will still improve, this whole thing a lot more. So I run it through that. And then the next thing, on my task list is to pretty much take the footage that I have and put it on a chopping block. There's a lot of stuff that I don't need, in the end video, so I trim off all the fat there, and whatever is left is pretty much, the basis of what I'm going to use in my final video. Next, I find a song or kind of background music that I like using YouTube audio library. There's a lot of other, music kind of libraries that you could, pull awesome YouTube music from. I just use this one because it's free, and you can see this video I have of it up here. So I pull a song, I match it to the video, and I start trimming and cutting and kind of matching everything up to the beat that I want it to be. Once that's all done, I leave it ungraded, And the reason why is so that I could save on space on my computer, so I don't need to have, you know, all those original raw files. So in order to do that, I go into my export window on DaVinci Resolve and I save it to the highest quality file size that I can. For me, it is DNxHR at 10-bit, pretty much video quality, and it just comes out, you know, as raw as you pretty much can for it, and that just saves me space. It's all, you know, the footage that I would have used or I can use, you know, in a future video. The rest is just all kind of just random kind of bits that I don't really need. So this saves me space. I delete all my raw video files after that, and then I finally go into color grade the footage. I personally have my own kind of light or kind of video look that I had saved from my original kind of first scene shot with the Canon EOS R5 that I liked. From there, it makes it so easy because it matches kind of my filming style and how I kind of film. So every time I put it on, it pretty much matches right away. Other LUTs, you know, tend to not really match well because it depends on your camera as well as kind of your camera filming technique. So with me, I use my own personal one. It either works perfectly or there's just little tweaking involved, which is perfect because that still saves me time versus me doing it for every single clip. And then once that's all color graded, I add a little sharpening at the end. There's many different ways to do it. I'm not going to go over that today, but I just add a little sharpening. And then finally it goes into export for YouTube, which I discussed earlier. I export in 1080p. With that in mind, there is one kind of really important detail I will include that no one really ever talks about in terms of getting, you know, extra crispy footage for YouTube in 1080p, and that is choosing the right bitrate. No matter if you're in Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve or, you know, any sort of editing software, you should have the option at the end to add a kind of like estimated or average bitrate of which this video is going to be exported in. For me, I have found on the Canon EOS R and the R5 that for DaVinci Resolve 95,000 kilobits per second, whatever the KB is, works to be really well. And then on Premiere Pro, 95 MB or megabits per second tends to work really well on Premiere Pro for the Canon EOS R and R5. And with this, like, I think that changed, you know, the whole kind of video quality aspect from looking great on, you know, your editing software to matching it and looking great on YouTube or wherever you're trying to show it. Because I think that was like the biggest disconnect from the beginning of me figuring out, okay, why does it look good on my computer but it doesn't look good on YouTube? And it also has to do, you know, with YouTube's compression and all that, but this kind of helped it along behind the scenes as well. So hopefully this helped you if you're, you know, kind of starting out with this kind of editing. This is just my workflow personally. It may work for you, it may not, but hopefully it does. It saves me a lot of time. So if this is, you know, something that helped you, make sure to press that like button down below so that I know. Subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on future adventures and kind of more tips and tricks like this. And then comment down below your thoughts or just anything. Like, let me know your favorite editing software. And with that, that's pretty much it for today. I'll see you guys later. Bye.